I'd spent 7 years putting up with Ethan. He went through girlfriends like tissues, letting every single one of them walk all over me. Someone once warned him that changing partners so quickly was bad for his reputation. He just laughed, gesturing towards me standing there, head bowed obediently. Doesn't matter. When I'm done playing around, she'll be my fallback. Later, he deleted every other girl's contact information, suddenly dead set on marrying me. But I just smiled faintly, coolly asking, Ethan, what part of you thinks you're actually good enough for me? When Ethan brought his new girlfriend home, I was in the kitchen making soup. She was gorgeous, carrying a designer handbag, and shot me a sideways glance. Ethan, honey, who is she? Ethan glanced at me, his voice flat. The housekeeper. The new girlfriend didn't press further. They started cuddling and kissing on the sofa. I stood in the kitchen, steam rising from the soup pot, undoubtedly looking small and insignificant. Once the soup was ready, I brought it out. Ginkgo and pork stomach soup, simmered with medicinal herbs. Ethan's late nights and drinking had taken a toll on his stomach, and he was picky. I'd spent ages researching to find a soup he'd like that was also good for him. The new girlfriend reached for the bowl, but I stepped back, shielding it. I only made a small amount. If you drink it, there won't be enough for him. She frowned, clearly annoyed. Ethan, honey, doesn't your housekeeper know how to behave? I mumbled, I'm not the housekeeper. Ethan shot me a glare, then wrapped his arm around his girlfriend coaxingly. Alright, don't stoop to her level. Despite his words, he used his other hand to take the soup bowl for himself. And you said you loved me most in the world, his girlfriend pouted. You won't even share a bowl of soup. Ethan placated her. How many designer bags have I bought you, you little ingrate? Tell me, who do I love if not you? They started laughing and teasing each other again. I stood nearby, head down. After their playfulness subsided, Ethan, still holding his girlfriend, glanced at me. Aren't you leaving yet? I insisted, make sure you drink the soup. I spent a long time making it. Ethan rolled his eyes, picked up the bowl, and drank it all in one go. There, happy now? I turned and left. A floor-length mirror reflected my retreating figure, dressed plainly except for a Chanel hair ribbon tied at the end of my braid, looking quite worn. It was the only gift Ethan had ever given me. It was originally for some ex-girlfriend who didn't like it. He'd tossed it to me, and I'd treasured it for years. Everyone knew Ethan had a revolving door of girlfriends, and I was the stubbornly devoted follower. Everyone thought I was hopelessly in love with Ethan, including Ethan himself. Otherwise, why would any girl debase herself like that? But what everyone thought wasn't necessarily the truth. The moment I stepped out of the Sterling family home, my shoulders relaxed, the subservient air vanishing instantly. I casually pulled the ribbon from my hair, tossed it in my bag, feeling like I'd just finished an exhausting performance, utterly relieved. My best friend Olivia's text arrived just then. She was the only one who knew my secret. Did that idiot Ethan suspect anything? I smiled, typing back, not a chance. He thinks I'm madly in love with him. The next evening, I was having dinner at Olivia's place. My mom said your uncle's doing much better lately. He can feed himself and is actively participating in physical therapy. My eyes welled up. Thank your mom for me. She's gone to so much trouble. Olivia waved it off. Don't be polite. It's the least we could do. My dad had been living in a psychiatric facility just outside the city for years. Olivia's mother was the director there. If I could, I'd really love to see him. I hadn't seen my father in nearly 10 years. I missed him terribly. No, Olivia pressed my hand. Visiting your dad could easily expose your identity to the Sterlings. We've been planning this for years, we can't afford to fail now. I took a deep breath, calming myself. I understand. Just then, my phone rang. I glanced at the caller ID and sneered. It's Ethan. Answering the call, my voice instantly became soft and low. Ethan, what's wrong? Loud music blared from the other end. He was clearly at a club. Chloe, he yelled without preamble. Come pick me up. The line went dead. Ethan never doubted I'd obey. Over the past 7 years, he'd learned that Chloe was always there at his beck and call. I stood up, took the hair ribbon from my bag, tied it neatly, said goodbye to Olivia, and hailed a cab to the nightclub Ethan frequented most. It was 1 a.m, the club pulsating with music. I found a completely drunk Ethan in a booth. Admittedly, Ethan was the type girls flocked to, devastatingly handsome, looking like a collapsing jade mountain even when drunk. Not to mention his wealthy background and extravagant spending. Countless girls had fallen for him over the years. As I approached, his buddies started catcalling. Ethan, man, why isn't the missus here to pick you up? The missus obviously referred to Ethan's latest girlfriend. She throws a fit whenever I go clubbing. Ethan rubbed his temples. Annoying. His official girlfriend would make a scene. I certainly wouldn't. Dude, you can't keep playing around like this. You'll ruin your reputation. What decent girl will want to marry you then? One of his friends joked. Ethan laughed too. Doesn't matter. When I'm done playing, I'll just marry her. He pointed at me. His friends hooted. Whoa, so Ethan already found his future wife. Amid the teasing, Ethan stood up, slinging his arm over my shoulder. Let's go. Take me home. He was incredibly drunk, his weight pressing down on me. I struggled to support him back to his house. Then came the familiar routine, cleaning the floor where he'd thrown up, changing him into soft, clean pajamas, setting porridge to cook for breakfast, placing warm water and aspirin by his bedside. I was an expert at this by now. Because I did it so well, Ethan always called me first when he was drunk. That was how I'd gotten the code to his front door, allowing me free access. After finishing everything, I stood by the bed, looking down at Ethan. He was asleep. The dim bedside lamp cast a warm glow on his face. Sleep softened the sharp edges, making his handsome features look clean and gentle, easily evoking a woman's tenderness. But I looked at that face with utter coldness. After staring impassively for a moment, I turned to leave. Suddenly, my wrist was grabbed. A sharp tug pulled me off balance, and I tumbled onto the bed. Ethan was awake. He pulled me into his arms. The smell of alcohol mixed with cedarwood, his favorite cologne, filled my senses. Angry? His voice was low and slurred. The shock left me stiff, momentarily unable to move, but my mind raced. Ethan had seen my cold expression. But he seemed to interpret it as jealousy over him being at a club with beautiful women. I silently sighed in relief. I hadn't blown my cover. But I had to maintain the act. I lowered my gaze, letting out a soft Ethan scoffed. Chloe, do you really think you're my wife already? What right do you have to be angry? My heart remained utterly calm. Drunk Ethan was always unpredictable. I was used to it. Outwardly, though, I had to play the part. I bit my lip, tears welling in my eyes. Seeing the tears seemed to soften him for a second. He stroked my hair, a smirk playing on his lips. Don't be sad. If you keep being this obedient, maybe, if you're lucky, I'll actually marry you someday. A flicker of surprise crossed my face, my voice soft yet resilient. Okay. I'll wait. That night, back in my own rented apartment, I showered, scrubbing my hair repeatedly where Ethan had touched it. So dirty. Ethan had reasons for drinking so much lately. 3 months ago, his father, the chairman of Sterling Corporation, had brought his illegitimate son home. That boy, Noah, was only 3 months younger than Ethan and a Harvard Business School graduate. Ethan's previously secure position as heir apparent was now shaky. Sterling Corp was undergoing numerous mergers and acquisitions. Financial data from various subsidiaries spanning the last decade were compiled and split in two. Half went to Ethan, half to Noah, for financial analysis. The intention was clear: whoever performed better would be the crown prince of the business empire. Olivia had already dug up all this information for me, so I wasn't surprised when Ethan called me to his office. Entering the office, I saw Ethan staring at his computer, his handsome face pale and exhausted. He ran a hand through his hair in frustration. I remember, you used to do my financial analysis homework for me. He dismissed everyone else and asked me quietly, you still remember all that stuff, right? I smiled slightly. Yes. Wealthy, idle young masters never did their own homework. Naturally, the devoted follower helped out. From high school through college, I'd done Ethan's assignments. So, in this critical moment, he naturally thought of me. Just like that, my official role became Ethan's secretary, granting me free access to the Sterling Corporation building. And half of the company's financial data landed in my hands. Ethan often left me in the office to finish his reports while he snuck off to date his new girlfriend. Naturally, I had no complaints. One evening, after working late alone, I went to the break room for a snack. The cleaning crew had already left. Someone had dropped a snack bag on the floor. I accidentally stepped on it, slipped, and was about to fall flat on my face. A pair of hands caught me from behind. I turned to see a pair of eyes crinkling in amusement. It was a young man, his expensive black suit jacket draped over his shoulder, white shirt unbuttoned slightly at the collar, revealing sharp, attractive collarbones. I immediately knew who he was. Noah, Ethan's illegitimate half-brother. Being half-brothers, Noah bore a slight resemblance to Ethan. But unlike Ethan's classic good looks, Noah's handsomeness had an undefinable edge of danger. He took off his gold-rimmed glasses, his voice gentle. Miss Chloe. I was slightly surprised. You know me? Of course, Noah smiled. Anyone connected to my brother, how could I not know? His smile was like a beautiful, poisonous fruit, unsettlingly dangerous. Looks like we're the only two working late on this floor, Noah said. There's a nice new bistro downstairs. Would I have the honor of buying Miss Chloe a drink? Instinctively, I wanted to stay far away from Noah. But reason told me I shouldn't miss the chance to get close to him. The reason was simple, half the evidence I needed was in his possession. Okay, I heard myself agree readily. However, as Noah and I reached the ground floor, an awkward scene unfolded. Ethan and his girlfriend, Jessica, were walking towards us. They had been arm in arm, whispering sweet nothings. But the moment Ethan saw me standing next to Noah, his expression turned icy. When did you two get together? Unlike Ethan's outburst, Noah's composure was impeccable. Brother, that kind of language is disrespectful to the lady, Noah said calmly. Miss Chloe and I were just working late and decided to grab a bite. Cut the crap, Ethan glared at me. Chloe, come with me. I didn't move. It was the first time I hadn't obeyed Ethan. He stared, incredulous. Chloe, I'm talking to you. Are you deaf? He failed to notice Jessica's face changing beside him. What's going on, Ethan? Jessica pouted. Last time I was at your place, didn't you say she was your housekeeper? Dressed in my professional blouse and skirt, I clearly didn't look like a housekeeper. What is she to you? Why do you care so much? Weren't we supposed to be on a date? Why are you asking her to come? A night breeze blew past, and my patience wore thin. I had most of the evidence from Ethan's side. What I needed now was clearly Noah. So I tugged the arm of the man beside me. Let's go. Noah smiled. All right. Under Ethan's furious gaze, Noah and I turned and walked away. Inside the dimly lit bistro, I sat on the velvet sofa in a private room, drinking glass after glass with Noah. My tolerance for alcohol was actually quite high. I could drink all night without issue. But in front of Noah, after just a few glasses, my eyes grew hazy, and my movements became clumsy. Finally, while pouring wine, my hand slipped, and half the bottle spilled onto Noah's shirt. I feigned shock, sitting frozen with wide, misty eyes, apparently too drunk to even form an apology. Noah, however, reassured me, it's all right. A waiter came in with food. Noah tipped him and asked him to buy a new shirt. He then went to the restroom to clean himself up. Alone in the room, I confirmed the door was shut and there were no cameras, then immediately sprang up. My eyes cleared instantly, all traces of feigned drunkenness gone. My gaze scanned the room and locked onto Noah's bag and jacket tossed on the sofa. I lunged for them, quickly found his office keycard, and slipped it into my pocket. I had just put his bag and clothes back in place, not yet having time to return to my seat, when the door opened. It was too late to go back. I quickly collapsed onto the floor, pretending to have passed out drunk. Noah approached me. He didn't immediately help me up. Instead, he crouched down, studying me silently. Through slitted eyelids, I saw his gaze, cold and filled with intense curiosity. Like a wolf observing its prey. My mind raced. A wine bottle was on the small table beside me, within reach. I had the keycard. If Noah tried anything, I'd knock him out with the bottle and leave. He wouldn't dare report it afterward. My resolve set, I lay still on the floor, eyes closed. In the darkness, I felt Noah's hand reach towards me. Suddenly, the door crashed open again, as if kicked from the outside. Amid a woman's scream and the waiter's attempts to intervene, I heard a clear voice. Get your filthy hands off her. It was Ethan. Ethan put me in his car, intending to drive home. Jessica threw a massive tantrum. I lay in the back seat, pretending to sleep, listening to them argue up front. Jessica, who is she, really? Ethan remained silent. Jessica, if you don't explain clearly today, we're done. Tell me, who is she? Ethan, family. Jessica scoffed. You think I don't know how many people are in your family? What kind of family is she? Unlike Ethan's previous girlfriends who simply fawned over him, Jessica came from a well-off family herself and had a princess-like temper. Ethan Sterling, let me tell you, tonight it's either her or me. The screech of brakes echoed as the car stopped abruptly at the roadside. Ethan's patience seemed exhausted, his voice cold and impatient. Get out. Jessica was stunned. After a moment, still unable to accept it, she asked, You're telling me to get out? Yeah. Are you trying to break up with me? Yeah. You. Jessica pointed incredulously at me in the back seat. You're breaking up with me, for her? Are you done asking? Ethan slammed his hand on the steering wheel irritably. Get out yourself. Don't make me force you. Jessica's sobbing filled the front seat. She was stunningly beautiful, used to being spoiled. Ethan had treated her better than any of his previous girlfriends. She never imagined being treated like this. Usually, a few tears would make any man soften and compromise. But this time Ethan remained unmoved. After a moment, Jessica probably realized it was hopeless. She pushed the door open and left. The second she was out, Ethan stepped on the gas, the car merging back into the night. Soon, we arrived at the Sterling house. Ethan carried me upstairs. He placed me on his bed, then leaned against the window frame, looking down at me. In the darkness, his breath was close. I could feel it quickening, his body heat seeming to radiate through his shirt, about to envelop me. Yet, ultimately, he did nothing more than tuck me in before leaving. After he left, I opened my eyes in the dark. Human nature is peculiar. When I trailed after Ethan, he barely spared me a glance. But when Noah showed interest, Ethan's possessiveness and competitive streak flared up. He could look down on me, but he wouldn't allow anyone else to take me. I closed my eyes and dreamed. In the dream, a little boy and a little girl walked hand in hand down a long alley, playing marbles in a small hideout made of red bricks. The little boy had strikingly dark, beautiful eyes. The dream faded, replaced by another pair of strikingly dark, beautiful eyes looking at me. "You're awake," Ethan said. He was in pajamas, looking relaxed. "I don't have plans today. How about I drive you out for a meal? What do you want to eat?" Before, he summoned me whenever he pleased, and I had no right to ask for his time because I was nothing. But now, he was proactively asking me on a date. Unfortunately, I have plans. I stood up, smoothing my clothes. "Thanks for taking care of me. I should go." Ethan's face instantly hardened. "What plans?" His jaw tightened. "You're not going to see that Noah kid, are you? Are you two really a thing?" Studying his expression, I suddenly found it amusing. "So what if I am?" I smiled slightly. "Are you the only one allowed to have a phone full of flings?" I moved towards the door, but Ethan blocked me. "Don't go," he said softly, almost pleadingly. "Just don't go see Noah, and I'll delete all of them. The player wants to settle down and get married?" I glanced at Ethan. His lips were pressed tightly together, seemingly confirming it. I coolly walked around him and left the house with practiced ease. Ethan stubbornly followed me. As I stood by the road hailing a cab, he was still beside me. "Chloe, you're doing this just to piss me off, aren't you?" Ethan gritted his teeth. "Trying to make me marry you sooner? Can't wait anymore?" I really couldn't wait anymore. But not for you to marry me. For something else. Something I'd been planning for so long, the comeback, the revenge, perhaps it was finally within reach. In that case, there was no need to play along anymore. "Chloe, marry me?" I interrupted softly. "Ethan, look at yourself. Take away the Sterling heir title, what part of you thinks you deserve me?" Ethan fell silent, his dark eyes looking like they held banked fire. Before he could formulate his next line, a car pulled up in front of me. The window rolled down, revealing Noah's handsome face with its hint of wickedness. "Miss Chloe," Noah nodded politely. "Rush hour makes cabs hard to find. Can I give you a ride?" I hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Noah smiled, got out, and gallantly opened the car door for me. I settled into the passenger seat, fastened my seatbelt, and Noah's car merged into traffic. Throughout, I didn't glance at Ethan's face. I didn't need to, I knew it must have been livid. Noah and I went back to the bistro from yesterday. The waiter brought various liquors and then left. "I'm not much of a drinker today. How about coffee instead? Would you like to try my hand-brewed pour-over?" Noah didn't seem very interested. I lowered my voice, tempting him softly. "Even Ethan has never had it." Noah's eyes lit up. His face, usually masked by a perfect smile, showed a flicker of something akin to excitement for the first time. I knew I'd guessed right. Unlike Ethan, who was spoiled and temperamental, Noah, as the illegitimate son, had endured hardship. This suffering forged his patient nature and inscrutable depth, making his every action seem flawless. But everyone has a weakness. Noah's weakness was his profound jealousy of Ethan. I went to the bar area and returned shortly, placing a hot cup of pour-over coffee into Noah's hands. He drank it almost immediately, eagerly. "Careful, it's hot." I sat down across from him. "Don't drink so fast. Miss Chloe treats me even better than she treats my brother." Noah put down the empty cup, his eyes curving into crescents. "How could I not seize the opportunity? Why are you seeking me out so often? What do you really want?" I asked directly. "Simple. Come work with me." I raised an eyebrow, taking a bite of berry tiramisu without speaking. For years, my brother has had endless flings, but I could tell almost instantly, the most important woman to him is you. The tartness of the berries mixed with the sweetness of the cake. I narrowed my eyes and smiled. All right. Noah hadn't expected me to agree so quickly. He'd for a moment. You won't ask why? What's there to ask? I said lightly. You're jealous of your brother. Noah frowned. I'm not. We're both father's sons. I cut him off. Exactly. You're brothers, born of the same father. That's precisely why you harbor such deep-seated jealousy. While he enjoyed everything from birth, servants, drivers, the best education, you and your mother lived in a rundown apartment, unrecognized by the family. You had to study hard, get top grades constantly, just to earn a glance from your father. You had to graduate successfully from Harvard Business School just to have him acknowledge your identity and allow you to compete for the inheritance. In other words, after struggling for over 20 years, all you got was an entry ticket to compete with Ethan. How could you possibly be content? Noah's perpetually perfect mask seemed to crack. He stared at me, his eyes cold. You investigated me? Of course. I've meticulously studied the files on everyone in your Sterling family. Well, you are Ethan's brother, after all, I smiled. Noah's voice wheezed. Do you love him that much? Love him? You think I investigated everyone around him because I love him? I chuckled. You're wrong. I never loved him. Noah frowned, about to ask something, but a profound confusion clouded his eyes. The confusion turned into blankness. He struggled to keep his eyelids open, trying not to collapse. You. I stood up, watching him coldly. I had added something to the coffee. The preceding conversation was merely to agitate him, making the drug take effect faster. Noah tried to resist but finally lost consciousness, slumping onto the sofa. I smiled calmly, opened the liquor bottles in the room one by one, emptying them to create the impression of heavy drinking. Then I asked the waiter for a blanket and covered Noah. Mr. Sterling is drunk. Let him sleep here for a while. After settling everything, I hurried upstairs. Sterling Corporation's offices were right above. It wasn't a workday, so few employees were present. I made my way to Noah's office but was stopped by security guards before I could enter. They knew I was Ethan's secretary, and Noah's office was strictly private. No one could enter without his permission. I pulled out Noah's keycard. Mr. Sterling asked me to retrieve a file for him. If this gets delayed, can you take responsibility? The guards exchanged hesitant glances. Clearly, they knew Noah wouldn't easily give his keycard to someone he didn't trust. Although I was indeed Ethan's assistant, the relationships among the executives were complex, beyond their understanding. As they hesitated, a loud crash echoed from the adjacent work area. A decorative ceramic sculpture had been knocked over, the shattering sound reverberating through the floor, accompanied by angry shouts. It sounded like Ethan's voice. Noah, stop playing games with me. Let me tell you, everything the Sterlings own is mine. You can't take it. The guards abandoned me and rushed towards the commotion. Taking a deep breath, I quickly swiped the keycard and entered Noah's office. His computer was naturally password protected, but I was prepared. I took out my phone and made a video call to Olivia. She answered within seconds, already prepared, giving me an OK sign and pointing to the man beside her, the hacker we had hired. With his help, we quickly cracked Noah's computer password, then the folder password. When I finally clicked open the folder containing hundreds of financial reports, my hand trembled. Logging into an email account, I sent them all to Olivia. Received, Olivia whispered. Chloe, we finally did it. I quickly restored everything to its original state and rushed out of the office. The commotion in the adjacent area continued, seemingly Ethan arguing with security, but I no longer cared. Tears streamed down my face as I ran forward. Years of pent-up pain and hatred finally found release, pouring out of me. After so many years, we had finally succeeded. I drove to the rehabilitation center and picked up my father. I hadn't seen him in many years. The caregivers said he'd been quite irritable. But he was gentle when he saw me, letting me lead him to the car and cover him with a blanket. The little old man with graying hair sat in the back seat, a row of sweet milk drinks I'd bought for him beside him. I heard he liked them, so I bought a lot. However, he only drank one bottle, looked longingly at the rest, but ultimately resisted, wrapping the remaining ones in a plastic bag and holding them tightly. Go ahead, drink, I coaxed him. I bought plenty, all for you. Father shook his head. My little girl loves this the most, he said. I have to save it for her. Wind seeped through the slightly open car window but couldn't dry the tears on my face. When I was little, that sweet milk was my favorite. I had forgotten, but he still remembered. Even though he no longer recognized me. I grew up in a single-parent household with my father. He used to be the finance director at Sterling Corporation. Of course, his last name wasn't Yu, Chloe was a name I adopted later. And his deputy was Olivia's father. When I was in elementary school, they got into trouble. Financial fraud, white-collar crime. Overnight, Olivia and I went from happy little princesses to daughters of criminals. Olivia's father couldn't handle it. Before his arrest, he jumped from the top floor of the Sterling building. My father initially refused to confess. Then he disappeared for a few days. Afterward, he admitted to everything. During those few days, the Sterlings subjected him to inhumane torture and intimidation. They threatened my father. If he didn't take the fall, the Sterling family had 100 ways to kill his daughter. To protect me, my father went to prison. When he came out, his mind was broken. Due to the drastic changes in our families, Olivia and I matured quickly. Around high school, I pieced together fragments of information, subtly extracting clues from Olivia's mother, eventually assembling the full truth. I wanted revenge. Olivia supported me. We spent a long time planning everything. The mastermind was the Sterling patriarch, but he was deeply cunning. As two teenage girls, we had no way to get close to him. But the Sterling heir, Ethan, according to our research, was a spoiled, arrogant rich kid. So I changed my name to Chloe, transferred to Ethan's high school class, and patiently stayed by his side for over a decade, gradually becoming an indispensable part of his life. We were waiting for the day we could obtain Sterling Corporation's financial data spanning decades and hand it over to the police. Now, that day had finally arrived. I took my father to a city thousands of miles away to lay low. The Sterlings would soon realize what had happened, and since they had my information, I was vulnerable to retaliation. Olivia remained in the shadows, handling everything else. A month later, the decades-old corporate giant collapsed spectacularly. News exploded everywhere. The president of Sterling Corporation, Ethan and Noah's father, was arrested. His assets were frozen, and the police launched an in-depth investigation. Olivia called me while I was making dinner for my father. When I was young, people always told my father I should learn to cook early to find a good husband. My father would always frown and retort, "My daughter is smart and capable. What man deserves her slaving away in the kitchen?" Yet, I did learn to cook. But I only ever cooked for two people, Ethan and my father. I placed the braised spare ribs into a bowl, served it to my father, and then answered Olivia's call. The Sterling's assets are all frozen, properties heading to auction. Both sons are destitute now, Olivia informed me. I showed little emotion, just murmured, Noah seems to be taking it harder, acting crazy, running to the police station shouting about his father being framed, Olivia said. It must have hit him hard. Imagine an illegitimate son finally gaining family acceptance, only for the family to go bankrupt months later. All those years of effort, gone. Who could accept that? What's strange is Ethan. He's been very calm, almost like he knew this was coming. My heart skipped a beat. After hanging up, I went for a walk with my father. His condition had improved significantly lately, he could recognize me now. We walked down a long alley, moonlight bathing the ground. "My girl, do you remember? When you were little, there was an alley like this near our home," father sighed nostalgically. "You loved playing marbles back then, and there was a little boy who always played with you." "Don't," I interrupted abruptly, my tone somewhat harsh. "I don't remember any of it." The night wind was sharp. After a short walk, I sent my father upstairs and went to a nearby 24-hour convenience store. Before I could leave the alley, a figure blocked my path. He reeked of alcohol, his hair was disheveled, and his eyes were bloodshot. It took me considerable effort to recognize the disheveled drunk as the once impeccably dressed Noah. "Finally found you." He chuckled lowly. "You bitch. Because of you, we lost everything. All those years I worked for, gone." My intuition screamed danger. I turned to flee, but Noah moved faster, grabbing me. His strong right hand clamped around my neck, silencing any cry for help. "You thought you could run after ruining us?" Noah sneered, drunk. "Didn't expect this, did you? Even if I spend my last dime, I can hire a PI to find you. We're finished, and you're not getting out alive." He held my neck with one hand and raised a folding knife high with the other. The blade gleamed coldly in the moonlight. Noah lunged at me with the knife. In that split second, someone slammed into Noah, pulling me into an embrace. A familiar scent, without the cedarwood cologne, but still unmistakably him. Ethan shielded me with his body. At the same time, Noah's knife descended, the blade sinking into Ethan. Ethan collapsed, but he used his body to pin Noah down, holding him with all his might, yelling at me, "Run." A jogger passing by rushed over. I dialed 911. I don't remember exactly what happened in that short minute. Everything was a blur of chaos. When I came to my senses, Noah was pinned to the ground by the jogger and other passers-by who had arrived. Ethan lay in my arms. I pressed hard on his wound, trying to slow the bleeding. Moonlight illuminated his face, pale from blood loss. Ethan looked serene and clean. Chloe, he whispered my name. Hey, don't cry. I didn't think I was crying. But tears fell, one by one, onto Ethan's face. Now. He struggled to lift his hand, seemingly trying to wipe away my tears. Are we even? Before I could answer, Ethan's hand fell limply. Ethan. Ethan. Noah was taken away by the police. I sat outside the emergency room for days, staring at the glowing red light. Nurses came by, urging the family member to rest, assuming I was Ethan's wife or girlfriend. Each time, I shook my head, declining their kindness. I couldn't sleep anyway. I sat on that bench for a long time. Eventually, exhausted, I closed my eyes. My thoughts drifted deep, to a long alley. I was a little girl with pigtails again. A boy, face smudged with dirt and bruises, stood before me, stuffing a handful of marbles into my hand, ruffling my hair. Hey, don't cry. Yes, I had known for a long time that little boy was Ethan. Back then, he was mischievous, always climbing over the wall of his family's mansion to play in our working-class neighborhood. After my father's incident, I moved away from that area and never returned. Later, I changed my name, transferred to Ethan's high school. He didn't recognize me anymore. It made sense, those childhood moments didn't mean much. They really didn't. Yet, even though they supposedly meant nothing, that one phrase echoed relentlessly in my mind. Hey, don't cry. I opened my eyes. A nurse stood beside me, a hint of joy in her expression, gently patting me. The patient made it through surgery. Eyed for a second, then sprinted towards the ward. Ethan lay in the hospital bed, still unconscious from the anesthesia. I sat by his bedside, just like the countless times I'd cared for him after he got drunk, waiting for him to wake up. My father visited once. He's a pitiful child too, he said softly to me. My girl, what happened back then was his father's doing, it had nothing to do with him. I remained silent. For over a decade, our relationship had been filled with hurt, hatred standing between us, love and manipulation intertwined, losing all purity. I told everyone I had never loved Ethan. Because I couldn't. To love him meant stepping into an abyss. I fell asleep by the bedside. When I woke up, Ethan was already awake, watching me with his deep, dark eyes, his long lashes framing damp pupils. Are you hurt? He asked quietly. I was stunned. He had just survived a major surgery, and his first words were asking if I was okay. I shook my head. Ethan let out a deep sigh of relief. I'm fine. I just wanted to check on you. He turned his face away, his tone slightly stiff. I saw Noah meeting with a private investigator, so I bought a plane ticket. I was worried he might do something bad, so I followed to see. Chloe, we're even now. We don't need to see each other again, right? Right. I stood up, turned, and walked away, step by step, out of the hospital room. Life presents many kinds of connections. Mine and Ethan's was destined to be a destructive one. Slowly descending the stairs, I headed towards the hospital's main entrance. Once outside this door, my future life would no longer contain him. Goodbye, Ethan. Ethan's story. Ethan encountered Chloe again when he was 17. He said again because he remembered his childhood playmate, and he remembered she used to have a different name. He also remembered what happened to her father. Years earlier, Ethan had woken up late at night and overheard his father discussing things in low voices with several uncles in the living room. Just pin it all on Oldgwa and Olgi, his father's voice said. Threaten them with their kids' lives, they won't dare refuse. Oldgwa was Chloe's father. From the beginning, Ethan knew his father had sent Chloe's father to prison, after which Chloe disappeared from his life. So, when he met Chloe again at 17, Ethan instantly understood why she was there, revenge. Initially, he tried to drive her away, but no matter how cruelly he treated her, the girl stubbornly remained by his side. Over time, Ethan came to accept it. Since Chloe was determined to seek revenge, it was better to keep her close. Otherwise, if she gave up on him and tried to approach his father or someone else in Sterling Corporation, she would be in truly grave danger. So he began allowing Chloe into his life. He never expected years to pass like that. He bullied her, hurt her with the cruelest words, treated her like a servant, and flaunted other girls in front of her. Because, Chloe, you absolutely cannot fall in love with me. And I absolutely cannot fall in love with you. Yet, Ethan failed on the second point. Much later, reflecting on everything, Ethan recognized his true feelings. He hadn't fallen for Chloe because of the gentle facade she created later. He had liked her from the very beginning. He knew he wasn't a good person and had hurt many other girls. He dated one after another, trying to find love elsewhere, but failed every time. Ethan resigned himself to it. He just loved Chloe. He had loved her since he was 7. Later, his father allowed him to take on company projects. He was shocked to discover how much blood was on his father's hands, how the seemingly glorious corporation was built on countless injustices. He looked at Chloe and thought, maybe what she was doing was the right thing. So he helped her, letting her into the company. The fact that half the data was with Noah eased Ethan's conscience slightly. He was constantly torn between wanting justice and hesitating to betray his family. Since Noah held some crucial evidence, Ethan felt he wasn't solely responsible for destroying his family. He comforted himself with this thought. He just hadn't expected Chloe to approach Noah so quickly. Ethan lost his mind. It wasn't just jealousy, he knew Chloe wouldn't genuinely fall for Noah. He was terrified for her safety. He knew Noah, a true wolf in sheep's clothing, ruthless beneath a polished exterior, capable of extreme violence. So he tried desperately to keep them apart. He hadn't anticipated the extent of Chloe's meticulous planning. In just 2 meetings, she had obtained Noah's office keycard. When Chloe was dealing with security outside Noah's office, Ethan was in the adjacent workspace. He had access to the security feed and could see Noah returning to the first floor. If Noah came up, Chloe wouldn't escape. So he had his own people intercept and delay Noah downstairs while simultaneously knocking over the ceramic sculpture to draw the guards away, allowing Chloe to accomplish her goal. Let it be. Ethan thought. He had wronged too many people in his life, his family, his father, the girls he'd briefly dated. But at least he had honored one thing, a promise he made to Chloe when they were 7. And he had ultimately kept it. I was just one step away from leaving the hospital for good. But I stood at the entrance for a long time, then suddenly turned and rushed back towards the ward. I threw open the door. Ethan lay on the bed, eyes closed wearily. Ethan, I called his name. He opened his eyes, looking at me with disbelief. He clearly hadn't expected me to return. We can't be even. I was breathless from running, but I enunciated each word sharply. How could we possibly be even? You hurt me so many times, insulted me, degraded me. I used you, lied to you, treated you like a tool for my revenge. We owe each other far too much. And now you want to call it even? Let me tell you, it's far too soon. This life is long, and we have plenty of time to slowly settle our debts. Ethan looked at me for a long moment. I saw tears welling in his eyes. After a pause, I heard him speak softly. Okay. His voice was slightly hoarse, we'll slowly settle them. The 7-year-old promise, a long, long time ago, a little boy and a little girl were the best of friends. The little girl's family wasn't wealthy back then, her father was just an ordinary accountant. The little boy would sneak imported chocolates from his home to give her and use his allowance to buy her pretty dresses and butterfly hair clips. The little boy had lots of allowance money, but his home life wasn't happy. His father had many affairs and would hit him when he came home, sometimes whipping him with a belt when drunk. Whenever the little boy was beaten unjustly by his father, the little girl was the one who comforted him. The little girl was the most important person to the little boy. And vice versa. The little girl loved playing marbles. The little boy didn't care for them much, but because she loved them, he always played with her. Once, older kids from the next street stole the little girl's marbles. The little boy went alone to confront them and came back covered in bruises. The little girl cried in fear. Hey, don't cry, the little boy said, stuffing the marbles back into her hand. He puffed out his chest. I will always protect you. Really? The little girl's eyes widened. Ethan, you have to keep your word. Yeah, the little boy looked at her seriously. I swear, no matter how much time passes, no matter what happens, I will always protect you. Under the setting sun, they linked pinkies, then chased each other, laughing, disappearing deep into the alley. Everything was so simple then. They didn't yet know the winding, difficult path fate had in store for them, what trials awaited. But it didn't matter. Don't be afraid. Because I will always protect you.